All right, let's get into it. Today we're going to crack the code on what might just be the most important 2 pages you'll ever write. The statement of purpose for an engineering PhD program.
Okay, so let's just jump right in with a question. A really important one. Because honestly, getting this wrong is, well, it's often a fatal mistake for an application. So, what's the single most important question your SOP has to answer? Is it, what have you done? Or is it, what research will you do? Nailing this distinction really does change everything.
And here's why that question matters so much. A PhD statement of purpose is not a personal essay. It's not your life story. Think of it more like an intellectual audition, or even better, a formal research perspectives. Your entire goal is to make a powerful case for yourself as a future research colleague, not just another student.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll dig into what an SOP really is. Then we'll figure out how to find your story, your narrative anchor. After that, and this is huge, we'll cover how to prove you're the right fit. I'll give you a paragraph-by-paragraph blueprint, and we'll wrap up with the critical mistakes you absolutely have to sidestep.
All right, first up, what an SOP really is. And the key here, the most important thing, is a fundamental mindset shift. You've got to stop thinking like an applicant and start presenting yourself as a colleague in training.
And this chart just nails that difference, right? A weak SOP is all backward-looking. It's a history lesson about you. A strong SOP, on the other hand, is a forward-looking argument for your research potential. You're making a leap from being a passive consumer of education to pitching yourself as an active producer of new knowledge. That's the game changer.
Okay, so if it's all about the future, how do you ground that? How do you make it compelling? Well, that brings us right to our next point, finding your narrative anchor. This is where you learn to turn your personal story into a powerful, undeniable research motivation.
A brilliant way to do this is with what's called the grand challenge approach. You connect your own personal context to a huge real-world problem. So, for example, an applicant from Bangladesh can leverage their lived experience with climate change, their Bangladesh advantage, to frame their research not just as an academic exercise, but as a genuine mission.
And you can see exactly how this works. Instead of just saying you have a vague passion for energy, you anchor it in a massive, specific national challenge, like the sustainable energy transition. Right away, this answers the why this research question with a story that's compelling and honestly unforgettable.
But here's the catch. A great story, even a powerful grand challenge, isn't enough on its own, not even close. You have to prove that you belong in this specific lab, working with this specific professor. And that brings us to maybe the single most crucial part of this whole thing, proving you are the fit.
And make no mistake about it, fit is the #1 criterion for PhD admission. It's everything. Sending out a generic, one-size-fits-all essay is probably the fastest way to the rejection pile, even for incredibly qualified candidates. You have to show you've done your homework.
So how do you do it? You get methodical. You become a detective. You identify 2, maybe 3 professors whose work genuinely connects with your grand challenge. Then you go deep. I mean, really deep. You read their recent papers, you look up their grants. The goal is to articulate exactly how your skills can plug right into their specific ongoing projects. Using a matrix is a fantastic way to organize all this research.
Here's what that matrix looks like in action. You see, this tool is so powerful because it forces you to go way beyond just name-dropping a professor. It makes you draw a direct, evidence-based line from a professor's specific work, like Professor Kalaf's NSF grant, to a skill you actually have. And then, here's the key, you propose a concrete research connection. This is how you prove fit.
Okay, so you've got your core ingredients, right? You have your powerful story, and you've done the deep dive research to prove your fit. Now it's time to actually build the argument. Let's walk through the paragraph-by-paragraph blueprint.
And it all starts with the hook. Please, I am begging you, avoid the cliché. Nobody on an admissions committee wants to read Ever Since I Was a Child for the 500th time. Be direct, be professional. State your purpose, name your target professor. You're applying for a professional research position, so sound like it.
So here it is, the full 7-paragraph structure, and each part has a very specific job. You start with the hook, then you lay out your academic foundation and provide proof of your research capability. Paragraphs 4 and 5 are the heart of your argument. That's where you detail your specific fit. Then you state your long-term vision and you wrap it all up with a confident conclusion. It's a logical flow that builds a rock-solid case from start to finish.
Finally, we're in the home stretch.
let's cover the common pitfalls that can absolutely sink an otherwise great application. Think of this as your final pre-submission checklist. And let's be crystal clear about the stakes here. Foundational flaws, simple things like typos, formatting errors, not following instructions, are often considered kisses of death. Now, why is that so fatal? Because to the committee, every little detail is a predictor of your future habits as a researcher. A typo in your essay might seem small to you, but to them it could signal sloppy data collection 5 years down the road.
Okay, first big mistake, the narrative fallacy. Your SOP is about the future. Your CV is for the past. Don't waste space telling your life story. And along with that, avoid vague words like passion. Anyone can claim to be passionate. Prove it. Articulate specific, well-defined research questions that show you've really thought about this.
Next, you have to live by the golden rule. Show, don't tell. Don't just claim you have a skill, provide concrete, quantified evidence that proves it. And the whole time, you have to nail the tone. The sweet spot is junior colleague, confident and professional, but not arrogant or stiff.
And finally, the unforgivable sins. Sloppy proofreading is an absolute deal breaker. Read your essay aloud, get multiple friends to review it, and whatever you do, never ever mention the wrong university. If you do have a weakness, like a low GPA, don't just ignore it. Address it briefly and frame it as an experience of growth and resilience.
So when you really think about it, your statement of purpose is so much more than just an application document. It's a pact. It's a scholarly promise that you're making to the department, and more importantly, to your future mentor.
So as you sit down to write, don't ask yourself what story you want to tell. Instead, ask yourself this: what research do you propose to do? Why are you the one prepared to do it? And why must you absolutely do it here? Answer those 3 questions with conviction, and you'll be well on your way.